Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a much requested video and I'm talking all about my own personal health journey, how I got to where I am today, what my diet looks like on a daily basis, and I am answering the much anticipated question, am I vegan? So I'm gonna start by taking you back to when I was in college, which is when this whole thing kind of happened for me. I was living in a house with 7 girls, and our house was the party house. So everybody came to our house on the weekends to party. One of my roommates worked for a brewery. We had beer all the time. We were generally just living a very unhealthy lifestyle. And so when I graduated, I was kind of thrown into the corporate world and had to change really quickly. I started, of course, working 9 to 5, and so my schedule totally changed. And with that schedule change, I had to start learning how to cook for myself. So I was working full-time at this marketing agency, and I was learning how to cook. I was making my own breakfast. I was taking lunches to work. But then I started getting stomach aches, and it was happening after almost every single meal. Initially, I thought it was just something that everybody was experiencing, like stomach aches are normal, right? But as I started to talk to more people, I realized that the symptoms I was having were definitely not normal, and kind of just living with this discomfort wasn't something that I had to do. So I turned to some friends, and it was actually my mom that recommended I remove gluten and dairy from my diet. So she recommended that I test it out and just see how it affected me. So I went cold turkey. I stopped eating gluten and dairy, and that was almost 6.5 years ago now. And I felt better almost instantly. The trouble was I had to totally reinvent the way that I was eating. I grew up with an Italian background, and so we ate pasta and bread and cheese. And of course I could no longer eat those things, so I had to kind of learn how to cook in a new way, and I started trying new ingredients. I was experimenting a lot with whole grains. I started eating more plant-based proteins like tofu and beans. I was incorporating a lot more produce into my diet, and I started to feel so much more vibrant and alive, and I realized that the way that I was eating had a huge impact on how I felt every single day. So that is where the kind of thought behind my blog came from. I was personally getting a lot of inspiration from blogs at the time because there wasn't a lot of information about living gluten-free. So I turned to the internet and I found this community of bloggers who were making gluten-free food and who helped make my transition easier. So I decided to start my own blog, and I created it around quinoa, which was one of the ingredients that I first discovered and was using almost every single day in my diet. At the time, there weren't a lot of quinoa recipes out there, so I decided to kind of carve this little niche out for myself on the internet and focus my recipes on quinoa. Fast forward, where are we now? 5.5 years later, and this little idea blog is now my full-time job, which is absolutely amazing. And I've been able to kind of use my own health experiences to help other people, which is really the most incredible feeling, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to share my message with all of you guys. So that's kind of like the backstory of where I got to where I am today. And of course, there were some bumps along the way. I have changed the way that I eat since I first went gluten and dairy free. I'm still not eating gluten or dairy, but I also am no longer eating animal proteins. So that transition started happening for me about 3 years ago. If I had to pinpoint where it started, I think it was when I started watching some food documentaries, and I specifically watched Forks Over Knives, and that really impacted me. And so I decided to quit eating red meat altogether, stopped eating red meat, and I was still kind of eating some poultry and fish for a little while. And then I watched Cowspiracy, and that changed everything for me. I think it was the way that they delivered the message about the environmental impacts of the meat industry that really struck a chord with me, and I stopped eating fish and chicken. So I removed all meat-based products from my diet, and at that point I was pretty much 95% vegan. And that's where I am today. I am not 100% vegan. You have seen from some of my What I Eat in a Day videos. I do use honey on occasion, and I also use bee pollen, and I have some other like bee-based products, beeswax, everything like that in some of my skincare products and things like that. And I do also eat eggs on occasion. So I don't eat meat, but I do have some animal-based products in my diet. I would say they're very sparse and very occasional. So that's why I like to say that I'm 95% vegan. I guess if I was to label myself totally and put myself in a little like diet box, I would be a gluten-free, dairy-free vegetarian. So if you want to label what I eat and how I eat, that is a label that you can use. For me, I don't want to live by labels. It's more that I just want to eat food that I know is nourishing and good for my body. Whether that means eating some honey sometimes or the occasional egg, like I'm not going to feel bad about that. I always make sure that I'm purchasing the highest quality ingredients possible. I'm always buying organic. I'm always buying locally sourced, especially products like honey and eggs, so that I know that the animals are treated fairly and everything like that. But I really don't believe in this whole concept of labels. And I'm sorry if this bums some of you out or if this is gonna make you guys angry, but I really just don't believe in labeling yourself that way. I just think that everybody should eat the kind of foods that make them feel good. And for me, that is really putting an emphasis on plant-based ingredients and whole food ingredients. So incorporating as many whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, produce, things like that into your diet, I promise you, you are going to feel amazing, and you don't have to put this little label around the way that you eat. So that's kind of my whole story. For those of you who are upset at the fact that I am not 100% vegan, I'm sorry that that upsets you. It's really not going to change how this channel is. I know that tons of you are looking for healthy vegan recipes, so I'm going to continue to share those recipes with you because that's how I eat majority of the time. So I'm going to continue to create recipes that serve that need for you. So don't worry about any of that. And then for those of you who are thinking about transitioning to a more healthy diet or are looking for ways to make this transition easier, I want to just share a few tips. I do think that this could be a whole video on itself, so I'm not going to dive super deep into these tips, but some of the tips I have are to start incorporating more fruits and vegetables into your diet. Try adding at least one extra serving to every single meal. So if you are a smoothie drinker and you like to add spinach to your smoothies, try adding in an extra handful of spinach. If you are making a salad, try adding some different vegetables on top. If you are making dinner and you have roasted carrots, try also adding in some Brussels sprouts or broccoli. Just adding in extra vegetables is a great first step to transitioning to this more healthy way of life. Some other tips I have are to start taking the foods that you're eating normally and swapping them out with healthier alternatives. So if you're a pasta lover, I'm not saying that you have to stop eating pasta because there are great healthy whole grain pasta options that you can have instead of the refined versions that you see in most grocery stores. Take the regular pasta, swap it for things like brown rice or for quinoa pasta or even for an ancient grain pasta. If you are a bread lover, especially a sandwich bread lover, take the sandwich bread that you normally have and swap it for something that's made with whole grains. If you are somebody that consumes dairy, so things like yogurt and milk and cheese, I would suggest that you try swapping your milk for a plant-based milk, especially if you're using it for things like smoothies and things like that. You're not going to taste the difference, I promise you. Cereal, that might be a little bit of a transition for you because it does taste a little different, and I promise you'll get used to it. And then for things like yogurt, there are great dairy-free yogurt alternatives out there that taste really good. So check your grocery store. I'm sure that you have some of those out there. I love coconut yogurt especially. Cheese, that's a little bit trickier. I honestly believe that there is not a great vegan alternative to cheese or a great plant-based alternative to cheese. There are good like cheese tasting spreads that you can find that are made from cashews. So there's a few brands, I can link them in the description box below. And then as far as like a shreddable cheese, I really don't have a recommendation because I don't really eat those. I would just say that maybe try to do the milk and yogurt first and then kind of slowly transition away from eating the regular cheese. And I guess my final tip is to try to steer clear of the packaged items. Of course, I do think that there are packaged items that are really healthy and packed with high quality ingredients, but when you can, try to make stuff from scratch. There are awesome recipes for things like crackers and granola and all of these types of foods that you would normally buy in a package. I'm sure that you can try to start making them at home. The benefit of making them at home is that you have full control over the ingredients that you're putting in. You know exactly how much sugar you're adding, you know exactly how much oil you're adding, and you can kind of play around with the proportions and make it even healthier if you want. So I guess those are my biggest tips. I do, again, think that this could be a standalone video. So if you guys are interested in kind of getting my tips on how to transition to a healthier diet, leave me a comment below, let me know, and I will add that to my list. And I would also love to know if you guys have any questions about my own personal story. If you do, pop them again in the comment box below. If I get enough questions, I will definitely do another follow-up video, maybe like Q&A style, where again, I'm just sitting here on the couch and talking to you guys. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I appreciate you guys watching and listening to my story. I hope that my story and journey has inspired some of you to make the switch. Eating more plant-based foods makes you feel absolutely amazing, and I know that you guys are going to love it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, you can do so on the next screen by clicking the button that has my face on it. That will automatically subscribe you. And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye!